So, hey, welcome to the Thrive Collective podcast. Entrepreneurs, business leaders, small business owners, this is your show designed to help you make more money, avoid costly mistakes in your business, but then ultimately fully integrate your faith into your life and your leadership. I am Rob Hughes, your host, and it's great to be with you. You know, I was reading recently from a faith perspective. I go through the 1 year Bible. It's kind of a daily kind of rhythm that I've built over the years. And just, you know, I think it's a really rich time to start kind of in that quiet spot in the morning and do some reflection. I was reading this morning about the story of David and Goliath. It's an old, story, documented historic event that many of us have heard over the years. This idea of a little shepherd boy who, really is not a warrior, is not a king yet, is not really anything. He's kind of underqualified, if you will, but ultimately steps up to Goliath, the Philistine, and conquers. I mean, many of us have heard kind of how that story goes. What was really interesting this morning as I was reading is there's a verse in there that says all the Israelites, prior to David coming on the scene, saw Goliath and ran away in fright. This comes out of 1 Samuel, I think it's chapter 17, verse 24. The Israelites ran away in fright, fear. They saw a circumstance of Goliath coming out, this Philistine, wanting to jostle them, bully them. This circumstance was so insurmountable, so fear-driven, that the Israelites ran away in fright. Nobody wanted to stand up to Goliath. And this fear of the circumstances is an interesting thing, because you've got two options at that point. When you encounter something bigger than you, more challenging than your current skill set, you can run away in fright or you can stand in it. And up until this point, the Israelites had run away. And then scripture goes on to say that God essentially chose David to step up. And David uses an interesting phrase later on in chapter 18. He says, "This is the Lord's battle, and he will give you, Goliath, to us." It was a claim of confidence. See, David did not approach this challenge, this circumstance, out of willpower. He approached it out of faith. And what's inspiring to me as I look at our current economic outlook, our current pandemic that we're faced with, and the challenges of today, there's circumstances that for some of these small businesses, it's beyond their ability to understand. This is your time to walk boldly with courage and to pursue the fruitful future that you have before you. And part of that requires us to be seen and visible. And in the digital marketing realms, search engine optimization, SEO, many of us have heard these terms floated around a few times. We may have even been familiar, or a few years ago, we thought we mastered SEO, and we were really excited to see our businesses showing up in search results. And you may be scratching your head now. What's the last time you Googled your business? Are you showing up in top search results? Well, I'm excited to have a dear friend, Abe, from, he's a StoryBrand certified guide, but he's also a certified Google Analytics expert, search engine optimization expert, and he's been in this field a long time. He understands the ins, the outs of effective search engine optimization and how to get your business seen today. And so I'm excited to have an interview and just a friendly conversation with Abe today. So Abe, welcome to the Thrive Collective.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's good to have you with us. So Abe, just kind of give us a little bit of your backstory, brother. I mean, search engine optimization is not something you just kind of jumped into. You were kind of part of the genesis story, if you will, of some of the more advanced technologies that we're using today. So just for our listening viewers and listeners, just kind of give us a recap of your experience and background in this area.
Okay, let me put you back to when I was 18 or 20 years old, just coming out of junior high school. Now, before I would say one thing about David and Goliath's story, it's kind of funny you said that, okay, is that first of all, even though I have years of experience in doing this, ladies and gentlemen, I would not be able to do any of this if I was not given the resources. And you can have the resources, you can go to the school for it, you can learn from it, but knowledge and understanding on how to apply that knowledge in a particular circumstance is something that's God-given. No amount of knowledge, no amount of college, no amount of studying, no amount of courses can help you with that. I am thankfully was blessed to have that. So that's all I can say. Now, here is one thing I would tell you. This is going back to 2000. I came out of college. Now, at that time, I'm coming from a parent of a single parent house. My father passed away when I was 5. I immigrated to U.S. at the age of 13. When I landed in New York, I'd never seen snow in my life. I originally came from India, and snow. The only time we saw snow was when it was in a snow cone. I literally, ladies and gentlemen, started eating the snow because I thought this country is the greatest. You get the free ice cream of your life. I mean, this is great.
You come up to Michigan, brother. I'll show you. But listen, pro tip: stay away from the yellow snow cones up here. Those
right. I was born then, and keep in mind, I'm 13.
Yeah.
I've never seen snow. So
yeah.
After that, my mom struggled a lot, and then it just so happened that she had a work injury. She couldn't work, and at 19 or 20, after junior high school, I had to stop college. I had to get a job to support the family. Basically, I was given a very hard choice that no parent ever have to give their child, which is you got to stop your education and support the family. So I stopped my education and to support my family. Now, when I got to this job, the guy who hired me, gave me $25,000 a year and said, "Hey, look, Abe, I want you." It's a mortgage company. I was hired as a marketing assistant. And he told me, "I need your help in marketing." Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I just came out of high school. I just came out of junior college. I am as green as you can be. Okay, only thing I know is what I learned in the book. I have no idea. And this is my first job at back home. We are on food stamps, and in a couple of months, we're going to be kicked out of the house. Okay, the renting house, the place that we are renting. So that's the situation. So I took the job for $25,000. 2 months into this job, the guy takes me to a local pizzeria across the street from this office, and his hand is shaking. His name is Warrington. So I asked him, "Mr. Warrington, what's going on?" Now keep in mind, I'm 20, okay, 20, 21 maybe. "What's going on?" He tells me, "Abe, I hired you on a credit line, okay? If you don't turn this company around in 6 months, I got to let you go." Okay?
Oh.
You can imagine the pressure. Now I am working. Situation at home is like any day we can get kicked out, and I better get my marketing here right, or I'm going to be out on the street. So that's the kind of background that I came from. So I had no choice but to learn and learn quick, and I better be right. Okay, so now during the marketing assistant job, this is the time where Yahoo was coming around. I researched a lot of stuff in Yahoo, how things were doing. And I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen, I studied like that. I turned that company around. I left the company because there were a lot of, I was really getting burned out. I mean, I was working 13 hours a day. They put me through sales training, all that stuff. I was one of the top producing loan officer. I graduated from marketing guy to become the loan officer, stuff like that. Got into mortgage banking background, which was very, let's say it's a certain demographics in banking. And if you don't fit that demographics, they look at you, you don't belong. Okay, so that's that. So I got burned out, I left, and then I realized that, hey, you know what? There are a lot of people that I met during my time as a marketing assistant, realtors, loan officers. I was managing 15 loan officers, probably around maybe 18 to 19 different realtors, all their marketing. I took all that knowledge and I said, you know what, I'm tired of working for the man, punching in, not, to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I was making great money. I mean, if I don't want to go into the amount, but let's just say for a 25-year-old, that would be like big time money if you're talking about in 2003, 2004, during the mortgage refinance and stuff like that. Now, I got burned out. I said, look, I learned from this experience. I need to go and, learn and how to help other people because I was already doing that. So I went out, I got trained in SEO by a guy named Michael Marshall. He passed away a few years ago. This is the guy that actually certified me from a search engine academy of Florida. And he is also the guy who used to advise the US Patent Office back in 2005, 2006, 2007 on search engine technologies that were submitted by Yahoo, Google, and Bing at that, actually MSN.
Wow.
So I was fortunate enough to learn there. And then I made a lot of mistakes over the years and put in at a minimum, at least four figures every year in training and education. The thing about search engine technology is, just to give an idea, between January of 2019 to August of 2019 of last year, Google had made 3,000 algorithm changes to their search engine, which means that every little changes, you better know what that is. And if you can't, you're already out of the game. So search engine, if you're going to get into search engine, you better have real good training and be on top of it. Search engine technology changes so fast. It's almost changing at the speed of technology. And Google pretty much said that in the Congress when they came out there saying, hey, we do at least 2 to 3 search engine algorithm updates every day. But SEO, if you do it at a basic level, at a common sense, dummy down, simplified level, you will not run into a problem. And I have been able to, fortunate enough to do that where none of my sites, no matter all these thousands of upgrades that were done since 2007 to now, have ever been penalized because we found a formula that works. And the reason why it works is because if Google goes against it, it's like them shooting themselves in the foot. Google's only thing is we want to give people the right content that they're looking for. And people on Google are looking for information. Not more about buying first. They want to get information, qualify you, and say, yes, this person is the right candidate, and then they'll make a decision. We have a formula where we follow that process, and it has worked very well. And Google is not going to go against that. I don't believe they will go against that anytime in the future, because doing that would mean that Google is no longer an information company.
Yeah, so you're staying up on it. You were trained directly from Yoda. Like
yeah, sort of,
the
yeah.
Yoda.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. The guy who, yeah.
So I'm not sure that I've ever actually had a direct interaction with a pure Jedi, like a first generation Jedi before. So thank you, Abe, for making this investment into our community. So okay, so you said 3,000 algorithm changes. Why does it matter for a small business today to run SEO? Clearly they want to be seen, but like, talk to us about the importance of doing this right. What's kind of like the success look like for a business who's really, really nailing SEO?
Okay, the people that are nailing SEO are gaining visibility. Again, the thought process, a lot of times, a lot of business owners will say, hey, I want to get SEO because I want to get more leads and more sales and more traffic. Yes, that is true. But the flip side to that is you need to get more people to be visible on your site. And the more people to have seen your site as visible, be more visible, your website being visible. And to do that, the only way you can be visible in Google is to give people relevant information that they are searching. You need to talk to your consumers or your customers at the level, at their problem level. And if you don't do that, for example, any website that does not have a content strategy in place, you can build a website. This is not the old saying, if you build it, they will come. They will not come, ladies and gentlemen. If you do not have a content strategy, for example, a blog, and you do not talk to your customers about their problem, and you keep talking, and I'm sure Rob probably has mentioned this, you keep talking about I, we, us, ours, and talk about your offer and not their problem, that to Google is not relevant. The minute you talk to their problems of your customers, the way you address that is when you pick up the phone, the way you are talking to a customer. Let's say you're sitting in front of a customer and the customer is asking you that question. Imagine there's a customer in front of you. Take one of their pictures, put that on your computer screen, and open up Google Doc and start talking as if that customer was in front of you and asking you a question. Answer that question, make that into a blog article, put that in your blog. That's what your customers are looking for. You give them answers and they say, yes, that is what I need. You will get a phone call. They will say, yep, this person, he, she, or this company knows what they're talking about. I want to work with them. And that's the side effect of giving them the information first. So setting up, positioning yourself as the person who can help them with the content and their problems and the questions they have, and answering that question is what's going to position you. Does that help?
It does. So I think I hear you saying a blog is
Correct.
kind of like the most common form of a content strategy.
Correct.
You know, my StoryBrand ears pop up, and I want to go there in a minute. But before we do, what other forms of content strategy could there be other than a blog? A vlog? Like, do YouTube videos work in that regard? And
YouTube
what others are working in the field today?
YouTube video does work, but the problem is a lot of people can't switch their mind between writing a blog and YouTube videos. For example, I was watching a guy optimize a channel this morning. As a matter of fact, I was talking to him. He is he's a very famous copywriter. Actually, he's a guy who writes all the copy for a company called AppSumo. Okay.
Yes.
Now, he is a great copywriter, but his YouTube channel was horrendous. Okay. He basically for example, if you're having a YouTube channel, you know what? Turn that into if you turn that question that your customer is asking, especially if you put in how to, and use the word how to get this, and use the word you in the headline and focus on how to, and make a video talking about it. You do not need a fancy camera. These days, if you have an iPhone 8 or better, it's good enough. Get a tripod, sit in front of the tripod. Again, just like you were answering the question, look at the phone and answer the question there. And put that up on YouTube. The only thing I would say is that when you're putting that on YouTube, make sure you put a link to your website that, hey, if you need help and you don't know how to do this, a lot of people are not experts like whatever fields you're in. You need help and guidance. Click here and I'll be happy to help you. That they will look at this video 8 out of 10 times, ladies and gentlemen. They are not at the expert level as you are. They're not going to do it. They will click on it. They say they rather pay the person to get that problem done and get it done right than them trying to hack.
Brilliant. So I'm curious, Abe. So as we look over the last 10 years, I've read studies that say, 8 out of 10 people will watch a 30-minute video clip on your website, and 1 out of 10 will read a paragraph. Is
Correct.
the same true in SEO and content strategies? Would you recommend today, if you could go either way, do you put a blog on with written copy, or do you do YouTube? Which of those are better?
How about if I was to give you both in one shot? You take a video that you created in YouTube, take the video from YouTube and put it on your blog, and put a summary of that video below. That gives you both at the same time, a video and a summary of that video right below. So people who want to read it can read that video clip, and people who want to see the video can see the video. Just make sure you have a call to action or a form to the right of that blog post where they can contact you.
Love it, love it, love it. And there's audio transcription services that I'm sure we've all used. Today, there's online services that our agency has used, like I think it's Temi and Rev.com, TEMI.com. It's not perfect, but it's an audio bot that translates any audio clip. I think it's like 10 cents a minute. And think about how many minutes you can speak on a YouTube video. And for 10 cents, you can get it automatically transcribed in like 30 seconds. Boom.
One thing I will say about YouTube video is that whatever topic that you have, unless you have a very technical or in-depth topic, try to keep your videos at 2 minutes or less.
Yeah.
2 minute, like StoryBrand's Don Miller does this quite often, 2 minute quick tips. Because look, you guys are the expert in this. Do the 2 minute quick tips and try to, what I usually do is, before I write any content, I get a bullet point list of, hey, what do I want to talk about, right? And expand those bullets out and trim it down to a short script, and make sure you read it or put it in online and say, if you type in Google script time, you type that entire text into there, it will tell you exactly how much minute it will take in normal reading time. So basically cut it down to 2 minutes or less, keep it short, because people don't have that. Now keep in mind, they have proven that people have the attention span less than of a goldfish. So keep it short. It's true, it's a true study. Keep it short and keep it under 2 minutes. Make it punchy. Hey, step 1 to end. If you can write the script in the bottom as a bullet point, instead of having a long paragraph, if you are going to write a paragraph, keep the paragraph no more than 3 to 4 lines, and then try to make it bullets, because people are not going to read the whole thing. They're going to scan. So how quickly you want to make it scan, that's better. Short and sweet into bullet points, short paragraph text is what works.
Oh my goodness, you got my brain just swirling here, brother. I got all sorts of ideas. So, let me just go. So I got a question to ask you. If your business is such that relevancy in the current date, like we got so much that's happening in the news media right now. It seems like just hang out 1 week and the entire world changes again. Yeah. So we're talking about information in the moment, addressing like today's issues that might become stale a week from now. Right. Is there some difference in strategy that you might recommend for content development in that space where, we're not writing blogs that have forever lifespans to them. It'd be more of like an immediate content. I just wonder if you could speak to that.
Yeah. One of the first things that you can do if you have a website, if you have not done that, and it's your coder can do this. You don't know how to do that. Ask Rob. I'm sure he can help you. Is to put a notification on the top of your website that says, even though it's COVID and everybody's in quarantine, we are open. We are happy to help you. Have a simple page that's written down that says, hey, how can we help you during COVID? 1, 2, 3. And let them put a schedule appointment there, call you, whatever that is. Now, if you're going to write content that is going to be only about COVID, and here's what I would say. I would not put this all about COVID. The reason why is, look, tomorrow COVID may or may not be here, who knows? But here's one thing that's going to be there. How to survive in a pandemic. How to survive in a disastrous situation. How to survive when your income is dropping like a rock. How to survive when your investments are failing. Those kind of things are evergreen content. Doesn't matter if it's pandemic. Doesn't matter if it's not a pandemic. I would not focus so much on COVID because your idea of creating a blog is always to have evergreen content. And let me clarify what I mean by evergreen. It's a content that does not that has no timeline. So if you create content for COVID versus talking about surviving during a catastrophe or pandemic, the one with the pandemic and catastrophe over, it's a broader topic and it's relevant if it's COVID or if it's some other thing that comes around tomorrow, it will be relevant. So when you're creating a lot of content, think about content that will be relevant to a broad scenario called evergreen content that you don't have to update. And the other thing is, when you are writing content, write about 5 things, 3 things, uneven numbers, 7 things. If somebody has a list online that says 15 things, make it 16 or 17, something like that. But write a short bullet, a short paragraph with bullets, break it down with paragraphs and write short bullets so that in this way it becomes easy to read. And how-tos, 5 things, 7 things. You could even say, 7 mistakes you should not make, 5 things to avoid during this time. Whatever, and position your products there, it will work fine. You can write about COVID using the same idea, but it would not be an evergreen content.
Yeah, it makes me think of Ray Edwards' How to Write Copy That Sells book. He gave some wonderful starting kind of call them like clickbait titles, that just are intriguing, capturing somebody's attention, and then just drawing them in to take that download or to access that content.
Right.
Just brilliant. I'm really curious, Abe. You and I both are StoryBrand certified guides with Don Miller out of Nashville, Tennessee. There's about 500 of us around the world that have been certified as StoryBrand implementers, really, across the nation and around the world. I'm curious, you've been in the SEO game for a long time.
Yes.
And now, Abe, you're a StoryBrand certified guide. How do you see the StoryBrand 7 framework interacting with SEO? Have you seen an increase in like, where do you see how do the two connect from your perspective?
This is a question that I get asked every single week, and with several guides. They ask me the same question. As a matter of fact, StoryBrand asked me to come in sometime in the future to talk about this exact thing. StoryBrand is a story framework, which is a 7-part framework. Okay. All of them focus on one thing, which is solving your customer's problem. Okay. Now, there is one thing to remember about SEO versus StoryBrand is that if you are in a market, and I see this quite happening in the legal, financial, and even medical market, where the folks that are working here are super, super knowledgeable. They have something called the curse of knowledge, and we all do. And they use phrases that their community understands, like ratios and stuff like that in investments and bankings, but the common man does not understand that. For example, I always use a 6-year-old test. I have a 6-year-old. And what I do is I go and tell her that. I go and tell her what I'm doing. And she's like, huh? What is that? If what you are doing can be explained to a 6-year-old, you are on the right track. This is why a lot of driver's ed classes and driver's ed testing is done on an 8th grade level. Now, having said that, implementing StoryBrand framework on the website can be done. The framework can be written the same way it is written, but your title tags must be talking about your customer's problem that they are having, as if they are talking to you in person. For example, I was talking to a family law attorney, and he was telling me, well, I do appellate law. So I asked him, this guy's name is Greg. I said, Greg, what does appellate law mean to a common uneducated man? I'm not saying your audience is uneducated. I'm just saying the common knowledge. Okay. What does that mean to somebody who has a GED or doesn't have a GED? What does appellate law mean? Well, if they lose a case, they can appeal their case. So you're talking about legal appeals. that legal appeals is understood by a common man. Appeal at law is understood by lawyers. So again, as long as you focus the title tag of the page to a common man's knowledge and problem, and write the description of your page addressing that common man's problem without using any industrial jargon. And there's one other little trick. When you're writing the title tag of your page, make sure you insert your phone number there, because some people may not want to go to your website, but if they see your phone number in Google, they will not even go to your website. They'll see the phone number, they'll click on the phone, they'll call you.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, yeah. Give them the option of just picking up the phone and talking to somebody as well. If your business is set up that way, you know, some solopreneurs and everything, they use kind of stop gates because they want to have, you know, people fill out forms so that they can take control of their schedule with that. But hey, as you're listening, if your business is set up where you can take inbound calls, that's a great pro tip. Jump on the backbone of your site right now, or have your agency do so, or reach out to Abe or our agency. We can embed that title tag on the back that puts your phone number right in the embedded code there. So
the other trick to this is that several times when you have a page on your website, people just, when they go to a page that doesn't exist, it shows a 404 page, okay, an error page, like this page doesn't exist. That's a great way to be a sales tool for you guys. Number one, you can go ahead and say, besides saying go back to home, you can put in, you may be interested in, put your key services on that page. So they can go to the pages instead of just going to the home page. They can go to the home page too, but they can go here too. Now, the other thing, if you do not have multiple services, is to put your newsletter box there. Hey, or if you have an ebook, subscribe to an ebook right there. So if you have 404 pages that don't exist and people come there, you can also be a lead capture page, or they can go to the home page that way. And one other additional thing is that when you're building a website and you have an FAQ page, I usually recommend you add an FAQ page. The reason why is you can have an FAQ page and have 4 or 5 common questions. Right below the FAQ page, create a form that says, did we answer your question? And put a little subtext. If not, we'll get back to you within 1 business days. Name, email, message, what is your question, hit submit. That is also a great way for a website to generate leads. If you are generating leads through your website and not just doing scheduling.
what an interesting, so actually using the FAQ page as a lead generating page.
Correct.
So many that might be listening, if you've implemented the Marketing Made Simple plan, you know that you want to have an ebook or a PDF or a video series, a download that people would exchange a first name and email address. And what our friend Abe is sharing with us here is that beyond those, think about how you're using your 404 page to position some of those lead generators or some of those products and services. And then on the FAQ page, I love that idea, adding a form underneath that is a capture that people could submit new questions. Oh, it's beautiful. Pro tips.
Now, here is another hack that a lot of people don't say, and a lot of SEOs do not want the common community to know. A lot of times, if you hire an inexperienced SEO company, here is what they do. They put the keywords. For example, if you are a landscaper in Michigan, whatever city that is, right? They will put the title tag at when I say title, the headline on the page saying landscaping services in the city, whatever, Michigan. Now, they will keep repeating that text in there multiple times. There is something that is very important for SEO. So again, this is no SEO will tell you this. I don't care. I will. Okay. The key to getting ranked in SEO, and the audience here, after you're done with this call, go to Google and type in plumbing in whatever city, electrician in whatever city. Try me out. Okay. If it doesn't work, email Rob. I'll be very shocked. I'll be interested to know that. But put in plumbing in your city, electrician in your city. Besides Yodel and all those authority sites like Yelp and all those other places, not the authority site, but the guys, the regular smaller shops or regular websites that show up, all have the keyword that they offer in their domain name. So for example, if you are a plumber, if you're an electrician, and if you say Joe's service, Joe, good luck with getting ranks for electrical service or plumbing service. But if you say Joe's plumbing service or Joe's electrical service, you have a more authority to get ranked. One of the indicators that Google always looks at is keywords in domain. That's one. Number two, you remember the example I mentioned to you about landscaping service in, I don't know, Lansing, Michigan, okay, or whatever that is. Now, if you have a page that is talking about a landscaping service and you put the headline as landscaping service, in the copy, do not repeat the same keyword over and over and over again. Make sure you use variations of that keyword, and the URL should say yourdomain.com/landscaping service. Do not put in landscaping service / Lansing, Michigan, because what happens is if you put that and you put your headlines there and you put your title there, Google is not going to tell you this, that they will automatically penalize you for over optimization. Always make sure that your title tags, that the title of the page, your URL, and your headlines have different combinations of that keyword, never the same keyword, because if you do, you will get penalized. They will not send you, say, any kind of report that says you're penalized. You will see your ranking drop. You may wonder, you'll call your SEO company, you'll call your agency company. They would, if they have no idea how this works, they would not be able to troubleshoot it. But if you have a page now that you're doing, that this is the case, please have your agency or marketing company or whoever that is, make sure they fix that like ASAP, because as soon as you do, you will see automatically Google's algorithm will adjust that page and help you get show up better.
Isn't that a pro tip, Abe? That is incredibly valuable to the small business community. So let's say that we take the title tag and the URL and the headlines, we create these variations. You recommend like a thesaurus or just different combinations, different ways of saying the same thing. That's essentially what you're saying?
Correct. Go to thesaurus, and if it's saying, if I put in landscaping service in Lansing, Michigan, you can flip it around and says landscaper in Lansing, Michigan, because that's a different word. It's not landscaping. Landscaper service, landscaper in, but don't put in the same combination, and definitely do not overstuff your keyword talking about landscaper in Lansing, Michigan. You can say Michigan landscaper, Michigan Lansing landscaping professional, like that.
Variations, I see. Okay. So that is interesting. So that maybe 10 years ago, repeating the same phrase everywhere was kind of the common jam, right? Everybody thought, well, I'm SEO because I'm shoehorning this phrase in multiple places, so it makes it easy for Google to index. And what you're telling us is that today, they've actually changed their algorithm. And if you're using some older approaches, you're probably pushing yourself into irrelevancy versus being seen.
Correct. No, Google's not going to come out and tell you this. You can go ahead and look in Google, and if you're willing to read between the lines, you'll find it. But Google will never flat out come and tell you. There's something else that Google is not going to tell you, but if you do that, if you don't do this, you will also get penalized. And by the way, if you're running pay-per-click, if you don't do this, you'll definitely end up paying 20 to 30% more in click cost. If you have a website or if you have a landing page, if you do not have a privacy policy on that page in the footer somewhere, you will pay 20 to 30% more in click cost, because Google algorithm will see that you are advertising in Google and don't have a privacy policy. So again, very critical. Every site have a privacy policy. A terms of service, legal disclaimer that says, hey, we are not responsible for any virus, anything like that. If you go ahead and put a terms of service, again, that would help you from a legal side, but you've got to have a privacy policy. Now, if you are a medical field, got to have a HIPAA policy in the bottom. And if you accept insurance, gotta have an insurance policy. If they don't see this and you are advertising in Google and you are a medical facility or you are a website, you will end up paying more in click costs and it will impact your search engine ranking factors. There is one other thing that again, Google will not come out and tell you unless you're willing to read between the lines. If you have a contact page and you do not have a physical address with a phone number and a map, they don't consider you a real business. Gotta have that information there in your contact page. The other thing about domain, you remember I had mentioned that keyword and domain is very important. Google is a master domain registrar. Let me explain what that means. It doesn't matter if you have a privacy and you are hiding behind a proxy in Google on your domain, or GoDaddy offers a proxy service there where they hide who the owner is. Google knows who you are. You cannot hide your proxy behind Google. They have master domain registrars. They know who owns this, what's the addresses, what the phone number. They know all that, even if you hide it in the proxy. Always register the domain that you are serious about. Register that domain for more than 3 years. Google doesn't consider any domain less than 2 years or less as serious. They think that that's a throwaway domain. And one other tip, if you are getting a domain, let's say you're getting, I'll say Rob's balloon, service, something like that. Now, keep in mind, Rob and the word balloon, if you put it together, there are 2 B's in the middle. Okay, notice Rob and balloon starts with the same word. Now your customers are going to make a mistake and they're going to forget the 2 B's and they're going to only say Rob and balloon and forget the extra B. If you have a scenario in your domain where you have 2 same letters together, make sure you get the wrong domain name with that only 1 letter. Buy that domain for 1 year and redirect it, because you will have some people making spelling mistakes, and what happens is, if you don't protect your brand, you will have domain brokers and spammers who come there, register the domain name, set up a business, can affect your domain, can affect your brand, or they will try to sell it to you. So protect your domain that way and register your domain for 3 years at a minimum, and also get variations of domains for .net, .bit, .us, and .net. .net, .biz, .us. .co is not that important. And also make sure if you have those 2 letters together, always get the wrong domain name and redirect, so that you do not have people misspelling your domain.
So it's just, this brilliant information, Abe. I mean, truly. So for when I do start my balloon company, how'd you know that was on my radar here to start a helium balloon company?
Took a guess.
So then Rob Balloon. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm into right now. I just got a Kamado grill smoker.
Yeah.
And with it, I got about a 12-pound brisket for this weekend. So if there is a business to be started, it's Bobby's Bootleg Barbecue and Brisket. Now, there's a lot of B's that are in that one there, and I wonder if maybe we should, have some different variations of that business name. I digress. This is brilliant information, Abe. I feel like we're sitting at the feet of like the Google Yoda here. I really do. Like you are the czar, man. I feel like if I don't ask this last question, I would probably kick myself later. Are there any other like pro tips? I mean, you had this is the one thing they won't tell you, and then you had 2 things, then you had 3 things, and I'm just like eating it up, taking notes over here. Is there anything else that comes to mind as a pro tip that you'd share with our small business community?
Yes. SEO is not complicated. SEO is simple. As a matter of fact, my domain is called SEOmadesimple.com. I'm working on getting the site built. Now, here is what I would say. SEO is common sense. If you want to win SEO, it is not about writing the most optimized tags, though that help. It's not about writing the keyword-rich content, though that will help. It is about giving people what they are searching for and giving answers to your customers as they are searching for them. Now, that may sound much easier than done, but if you go ahead and write your content, doesn't matter if it's on Facebook, doesn't matter if it's on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or on Google, focus on giving answers to your customers to their problems. SEO, what I just mentioned, it's an overlay of that. If you just do that one thing and then overlay this, you will win. Regardless if you do SEO or not, but having SEO does help. But that should be the baseline. And again, ranking in Google and getting ranked in Google is not about gaining more customers. That is a side effect of it. Getting more revenue and growing your business, that is a side effect of it. But the first thing is to give the customers the answers they're looking for, just like they do when they call you. If you do that, and you do that on your content, you do that on the video, it doesn't matter what happens to Google. And this, by the way, is our secret. It doesn't matter what Google does with all the algorithms. If they go against this particular theory, they will be shooting themselves in the foot. Focus on that and you will win, and you won't get penalized in Google. And that has been the case for me. None of the sites, and I worked for probably about 2,000 plus sites, none of them has gotten penalized. But if you try to game their system, try to over optimize it, and you have a lot of SEO companies, a lot of agencies that are not sure what they're doing, you will get temporary win. For example, they will do all kind of black hat technique that will get you really up real fast. But what goes up must come down, and you will come down real fast. But if you go with this theory, it will be like a turtle. Slow and steady wins the race. You will have your competitors that will do all these kind of negative things to shoot up, but they will come down. But this is a consistent organic growth strategy that will grow. And if you do that, you will have tons of pages and things built. Now, one last thing before I leave here is that a lot of people ask me about, hey, I am a lighting company, or I am an electrician, and I serve this city, and this city. I want to show up in all of them. How do I do that? Let me give you a tip on that one. When you build your site, or if you have a site, you go ahead and put in the bottom of your site, above the privacy policy and all that, you put in whatever name of a company is, serves the following market segments or survey areas. You put the city there, your top cities. Now, when you go inside the city, you are going to talk about, now, the old technique was you will talk about electrical services or landscaping services in this city and spam the daylights out of those pages. Now, that doesn't work. You are going to write about the benefits of hiring a landscaping company in that city. You are going to talk about what they should look for when they hire the landscaping services in that city. You also should link to Better Business Bureau. You should also link to some authority sites that belong in that city. Maybe the city hall, if you're talking about certification, maybe the certification company, maybe the city's, city hall. Linking out to external authority sites actually helps you SEO, because Google looks at that link and looks at the other authority site and said, oh, they are referring back. That means that authority is also powerful, and this guy is referring them. A lot of people talk about building links inside to your site. I'm telling you, yes, you can do that, but also link out to city and government sites, Wikipedia, stuff like that. That would also help you in your city pages. Make sure you talk about the benefits of hiring a qualified landscaper in that city, what they should look for, have a map of that city, link out to the city hall, link out to Wikipedia, link out to other government authority from that site, and make sure you have your phone number there. And additionally, you should have a video. If you make a short video about hiring, about your company and how you serve customers in that city, put that on YouTube and put that on that page. It will rank better than stuffing that page for city and keep. By the way, if you want to see this technique being used, it is used by a very large company called, and it's quite popular now, called DoorDash. It's a food delivery service. Go to their website and look at New York. go to the bottom of their website and click on New York or other cities, what they have done is they have put the state of New York, or let's say they put in, New York City, and they will say, DoorDash serves customers in the following zip code. At the bottom of the city page, make sure you include your company serves customers in the following zip code and put in the zip code. Google will look at the zip code, they will look at your city pages, they will look at the content and the link out, and you will start ranking very well for those cities. No special SEO needed.
I want to re-listen to this podcast and pause every 30 seconds and go take action based on some of these tips, Abe, and then come back and listen to another 30 seconds and then go run and take a day or two and implement and then come back to the next 30 seconds. You have laid us a treasure path, a treasure map of gold regarding SEO for our websites. I can't thank you enough. On behalf of the entrepreneurs, the small business leaders, business owners in the Thrive Collective community, thank you for your investment today. This has been incredible. And if folks want to reach out to you to engage your firm or to ask you questions directly, SEOmadesimple.com, is this the best way to reach you?
It can. That's going to redirect to my company, Creative Web Results. And basically all you do is click on my schedule appointment, schedule a calendar time with me. And if you have a personal question, you do not want to wait till a calendar, send me an email at info@creativewebresults.com. There is an 800 number you can call and leave a message that's answered 24/7 by an answering service, and I will personally call you back and help you.
Abe, I cannot thank you enough. This has been incredible. Thank you, Yoda, for the investment of this time. I look forward to our friendship continuing, and perhaps we'll have you back on the show someday soon, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It was truly a pleasure, Rob. Thanks for the opportunity.
So I'm so thankful. Thanks again, Abe, so much. And Thrive Collective community, I know you'll join me in thanking Abe. Again, SEOmadesimple.com. If you'd like to have a conversation with him, we'd encourage you to do that. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you all in the next show.